What an incredible last 3 days here at the Sing Conference in Nashville, Tennessee. We've been so encouraged, as you see this set here, to have interviews with key speakers and hear really just wonderful testimonies. Things that I know will encourage you in learning how to share your faith with a crazy culture, how to just grow deeper in your walk with Jesus, and then to hear what God is doing around the world. Now, I pray you'll stay tuned and that you'll watch this next video, and I know that it'll be an encouragement to you. Well, we're glad to have Bob Lepine with us today. And Bob is a voice you may have heard because he's worked on the Truth for Life podcast and also Family Life Today with Dennis Rainey. He is also, I believe, a teaching pastor at Redeemer.
That's right.
Community Church in
Right.
Little Rock,
Yes.
Arkansas, and is a big Arkansas fan. And he's authored, I believe, 6 books, and we'll get to those in just a moment. But we're just thankful that you took time out of your schedule here at Sing to be with us.
It is great to be with you and great to be cheering you on in the work that God has called you guys to.
Well, great. Well, I was reading a little bit about your background, and you weren't always interested in radio broadcast. You were actually looking to be a lawyer. Can you explain maybe that journey?
Yeah, I was 12 years old watching Perry Mason. Only some of us are old enough to know.
I remember
who Perry
that.
Mason
He always
is.
won.
That's right. And I thought, I want to be able to argue with people for a living and have them finally go, okay, you're right, I was wrong. I thought that's my goal. So I had planned to go to law school. And really part of it too was because of I think a God-given desire for justice. I think all of us have a longing to see justice in our world. And I had a relative who said, if you want to go to law school, don't do pre-law. He said, all the law schools care about is that you get good grades and show you're studious. Yeah. So I took an undergraduate degree in radio and television communications. Really? Thought that would be fun, I'd enjoy it, and I thought I could do okay on that. And I took a summer job between undergraduate and graduate at a radio station, and halfway through, they said, why don't you postpone law school? We'll give you a raise. We like what you're doing. I was having fun doing it. I thought, boy, if I do this, I may never get to law school. But I was having fun. I thought I'll give this a try, and if it doesn't work out, I'll go to law school. That's still my plan. If it doesn't work out, I'll get to law school one of these days. Now that was almost 50 years ago now. Wow. And I've been thrilled with the path that God had for me here.
Boy, what open doors that God has allowed. Now you were like on Family Life Radio for over on 200 stations there?
Yeah, well, we were on about 1,200 stations at one point. And I was there for 28 years working with Dennis Rainey as the co-host of Family Life Today. So I got my master's degree in marriage and family by spending a half hour every day talking about it with experts from all around the world. And God used it in my own life, my own marriage, my own family, but it was a privilege to be a part of that and so rewarding for me.
Yeah, what an honor
right.
to be able to do that. And then to have someone of your talent, it's great for them to have you there, because you said that you always try that when you're on the radio to kind of provoke something in the listener. And you quoted Howard Hendricks, I believe. You're maybe a professor at Dallas.
Yeah, right.
The itching dust on the brain.
Itching powder, yeah.
Yeah, explain that to me.
Yeah, he used to say to his students that he wanted to dust their brains with itching powder and get them scratching their heads. And I wanted to make sure that any conversation we were having, we got beyond the surface and got to some level of transparency and authenticity and really get to where folks are living. So when I would be interviewing somebody and they would give me kind of their boilerplate answer for whatever question, I would try to think like a skeptical listener and say, how would a skeptical listener hear this? And then just say, well, so what would you say to the person who's hearing this? And just try to drive things a little deeper than they would otherwise go.
You know, I think that's a really important lesson for all of us as we engage the unbelieving world, because sometimes it's just sometimes the right question that you ask that can bring out something. So oftentimes we kind of want to go in with our kind of presentation of what we're going to say, but if we're listening and ask the right questions.
I agree 100%. I was talking to a fellow broadcaster recently, and he's new at interviewing, so he's got his preparation done. He knows what he's going to do. And I said, that's good, be prepared, but when you sit down in the conversation, be in the conversation and follow where it's going rather than trying to drive it where you're predetermined, because you never know where God's going to take the conversation.
Exactly.
You're probably familiar with Randy Newman's book, Questioning Evangelism.
Right.
And Randy's whole premise of this is how you go out. You ask a lot of questions and watch where God takes things.
I think we just need to be good listeners.
Yes.
I mean, so many times we aren't that way, but boy, it's been, I'm sure, a great journey for you with Dennis Rainey and then Alistair Begg. For how many years have you done this?
So it overlapped for a while. I was with Family Life, and then Truth for Life came and said, we need somebody to help with the opens and closes to our program, and I was privileged to do that. In fact, I told them, I said, if I said no to this, I would feel like I've stolen so much from Alistair over the years that I would feel like I wasn't being honest here. So it's just been a great privilege to be there for almost 15 years now, and such respect for him and his Bible teaching ministry.
They're on a lot of stations, aren't they?
They are on about 1,800 stations.
Yeah. Well, you're kind of known all over the world now. You really are, and it's really great because the way God has gifted you, not only with the quality of voice, but knowing the right inflections and, like you say, bring that listener in. It prepares people to listen to Alistair Begg, which is so important. If that wasn't there, there wouldn't maybe be the draw of bringing it in. So, hey, that's a great gift.
I'm happy to open the door and hold it open so folks can come in and hear Alistair preach.
Well, you're also an author.
Yes.
Okay, and written a number of books on marriage. But I recently just picked up, after reading this, saying, hey, listen, the 4 emotions of Christmas.
Yeah.
And I'd like for you to kind of, because seemingly written for Christmas, holiday season, and maybe giving it to someone that doesn't know Christ. Could you maybe explain the purpose of the book and maybe even the 4 emotions to touch base on that and how that can be used?
So I was approached about this book by the publisher, and this is a publisher that has a heart to want to see the gospel message put into as many hands as possible. They said, we'd like a book about Christmas that could be a gospel giveaway. In fact, it's, as you showed, it's a small book. It's something you could read in about an hour. I wrote it with an unchurched person in mind.
Yeah, I could tell that.
Everybody goes to Christmas with preconceptions. They're hoping that this is a holiday that will bring joy and peace and love. And what they often get is stress and sadness, and they're discouraged, and there's a disconnect. They go, why is it that the season that I hoped was going to bring me a different emotion is bringing me stress or discouragement or sadness? And so in the book, I said, let's talk about the emotions that come our way during the Christmas season. Why is it that a season of joy would bring sadness? What is it about our past experience or about current events? Why is it that we would be melancholy? And then what do we do to resolve that sadness in the season? I talked about kind of some practical strategies, but at the end of the day, I said, I think we need to pull back and say, what are we hoping that, why are we hoping this holiday will do what no other day of the year can do for us? So by the end of the book, I'm talking about what it is we're all longing for, which is joy, and why the message of Christmas is ultimately a message of joy. The publisher makes these books available. If you buy them in quantity, you can buy them for $1.50 or $2 a book.
Wonderful.
And so at our church, where I pastor, we bought 1,000 copies, and I asked everybody in our church to think of 10 friends, that they could make a plate of cookies and give a plate of cookies and a copy of the book and an invitation to our Christmas Eve service in your neighborhood, in people you would give a gift like that to at Christmas, because no friend of yours is going to be offended if you give them a Christmas book with cookies and an invitation to the Christmas Eve service. They might come to your service. It might open gospel conversations for you, gives you a chance to go back a week later and say, do you have a chance to look at that book I gave you and just see if that opens a door for anything in their life? So I've been very encouraged. I think the first year it was out, about 100,000 copies of that book got distributed. And that's really what it's all about for me, is to see as many copies of this book put in the hands of people who aren't coming to church right now. After that book was written, the publisher said, let's do one for Easter. So I've got a book called 12 Things You Probably Didn't Know About Easter, where we talk about everything from hot cross buns to Cadbury eggs.
Yeah.
But also then, what's the story of Easter all about? and what are some of the unusual things that happened during the crucifixion and ultimately the resurrection of Jesus. Again, I think you have friends and neighbors, you give them a book that's 50 or 60 pages long, and it's not something they will easily throw away, because folks don't just toss a book. They'll keep it around, and who knows when they'll pick it up and start reading, and maybe if there's something that catches their attention, it opens the door to what could be a gospel conversation. That's what I'm hoping.
It's not too big,
right?
Because people only have so many mental calories that they can burn.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And they look at this and they think, I could digest this.
Yes.
That's great. Well, you're not only an author of The Four Emotions of Christians, but a number of books on marriage and being a good husband. And so, if I could ask you one nugget of advice that you could give to me as a husband, and to all the husbands that are listening, and possibly future husbands be out there, what would that one nugget be?
I'll tell you something that was kind of an aha moment for both Marianne and me. And it was when we were working at Family Life that I heard Dennis Rainey say that the natural drift in every marriage relationship is a drift toward isolation. You don't naturally drift together, you naturally drift apart. And two things in that statement that were helpful for me. The first was, so when I'm experiencing this, to go, okay, this is normal. I'm not the only one who's experiencing this. This is common. But secondly, if we're not going to drift apart, that means we have to be intentional about trying to come back together. So when you were dating, it just seemed like all of the energy and inertia was pushing you together. And now in marriage, it feels like you're drifting apart. Doesn't mean there's something wrong with your marriage. It just means you're not watering, fertilizing, tending it the way you should. I tell married couples today, well, and pre-married couples, if I came to you as you're getting married and said, I want to give you a gift, I'm going to buy you a brand new car, any car you want, one catch. It's the only car you can have for the rest of your life. But it's free, I'll give it to you. It's the only car you can have for the rest of your life. Two things. First of all, you'd check that car and make sure you're getting the right car. Then you would maintain that car. Like when you'd make sure the oil got you. You would take good care of that car because it's got to last you a lifetime. Right. And when it broke down, because it will, you'd go, well, I got to take it to the shop and get it fixed, or I don't have any transportation. And I say the same thing with marriage. If we would go into marriage saying, this is the only marriage I'm going to have for a lifetime, so I got to take good care of it.
Right.
And when it breaks down, I got to go in and get it fixed because this is the only option, rather than maybe it's time to trade in for a new model, right?
True.
So I think we just have to have that mindset, take good care of the marriage, and then when there's a hiccup, get some counseling, get some friends, get some folks who can help get you out of the ditch and get back on your road.
Man, thank you for that.
Yeah, you bet.
Now, any upcoming projects that you want to let us know about?
I've been talking with the same publisher about some other titles that may come out.
Is the one for Easter out yet?
It's out.
Okay.
12
I didn't
things
know.
you probably didn't know about Easter.
I'll make sure I get that.
That's available, and we're looking at other options related to that. Right now, I'm hard at work with a discipleship project in our local church, and that might be something that expands out to have a broader audience than just our church. So we'll see.
Well, thank you for your time and what you're a gift to the kingdom of God, and not only by all the things you've done in radio, but being an author and helping us being able to share Christ better. And so I want to thank you, Bob, so much.
Thank you, and thanks for all you're doing, and happy to be a part of this.
God bless you.